London. The year is 1865, and the Langham Hotel has just opened its doors. It is a masterpiece, the epitome of prestige, and at its core is an excellence in customer service. Fast forward 150 years, and here we are today. Still at its core is that excellent customer service. There are two trends ready for capture in the market that exists today. That is the rise of the Chinese domestic business traveller and the new millennial. We are Real Consulting. My name's Matthew, and today I'm joined by Kat, Sean and Dan. And we believe that the goal that you have set yourselves of 100 hotels by the year 2020 is both realistic and admirable. We have devised a strategy that has three components. The first of which is brand, which is about capturing those new markets and driving home customer loyalty. The second component is about growing, bringing the Langham group of hotels to the world. And the third component is about focus, which is about energising and focusing the internal stakeholders, both the staff and the investors, to follow this adventure as Langham goes towards 2020. Now let's have a look at the brand.
Smart branding is the key to success, both in capturing new markets through strong, globally relevant brands and through creating customer loyalty with a service-oriented analytics system. Your ambition is to become a leading luxury brand globally. Yet you recognise that the luxury travel market is both broad and evolving, with the emergence of the millennials and the Chinese business traveller. These insights drove your decision to extend the brand portfolio from the Langham brand to the Eaton brand, and now with the addition of Brand X. Individually, each of these brands, if strong and globally relevant, have the potential to excel. So let's take a look at each brand's individual value proposition. The Langham brand offers a strong luxury brand image, supported by its British pedigree, opulence, and the division between the classic traditional luxury of the Langham and the modern contemporary take on luxury at Langham Place. However, the brand does suffer from low brand awareness. So how do you take this luxury brand image and communicate its strength on the world stage? Our research indicates that brand ambassadors is a very effective tool in raising brand awareness for a number of reasons. However, it is essential that the ambassadors you choose are both authentic and relevant to the brand. And with this in mind, Real Consulting has identified the iconic James Bond figures, Sean Connery and Daniel Craig, as an ideal fit for this role. Not only is James Bond the epitome of British pedigree and opulence, but the two brands already have a shared history, with the Langham appearing in the timeless Bond film GoldenEye. Sean Connery would represent the classic, traditional luxury of the Langham, whilst Daniel Craig would represent the modern, contemporary luxury of Langham Place. Moving on to the Eaton brand. Your vision for the Eaton hotels was to capture the millennial market. The millennials are expected to make up 50% of the hospitality market by 2015, and they are characterised by a high disposable income, their value in social currency, meaning that they desire to be on trend and to share this on social media, and their eco-consciousness. They were born global. So how does the Eaton brand take this luxury brand, take these key characteristics and capture them in such a way that will appeal to this target market? And the answer is through trendy eco-hotels. What this will look like is the trademark Langham service, but with the additional features of sociable areas, co-working spaces, and various sustainable practices. Finally, you created Brand X to tap into the explosive growth in China. By 2015, the luxury travel market in China is expected to be worth 2.4 trillion Hong Kong dollars. To put this into perspective, that is worth 20% of the luxury travel market globally. And more than that, there is currently low global brand penetration, with the Hilton and the Marriott only just making their first moves on the market. And interestingly, 95% of the spending in this area is being driven by your business domestic traveller. Therefore, Brand X will be a productivity-driven Oriental hotel. This isn't your generic Hilton or Marriott. This is a hotel that caters to the specific needs of the domestic business traveller in China. And finally...
can we just go back to, well, everything really. The Langham Place, no brand awareness, let's do brand ambassadors, and millennials, a couple of things that characterize them, so let's reposition into trendy eco hotels. I mean, why are these two answers? Like, what other options are there?
We did consider a number of options for the eco hotel in particular with the millennials. The reason that we went with the trendy eco hotel is that a combination of key characteristics of that market, which is shared globally, it's not distinguished by particular countries, they're global characteristics of the millennials, and that means that your expansion can happen globally with those hotels. The Langham brand, we don't need to reposition it, it's already so strong, it's a luxury brand, it's a matter of then expanding that globally. It's just strengthening the luxury brand image and communicating it on the world stage.
But why is brand ambassadors the way to do that?
We did look at a number of options. Brand ambassadors is the most cost effective. So I can go back to the slide. No, I can't. Don't know how to do that. But essentially, brand ambassadors have a number of key benefits. They have media attention naturally in themselves. So we look at them as an investment. Essentially, it will be a capital outlay to get Daniel Craig and Sean Connery on board, and we recognise that. But we look at it in the perspective of what you get back from them. And what they bring with them is media attention and the authenticity and the relevance of their image to the Langham brand is outstanding. It can't be beaten. So that's where we see the value.
So it's a cost issue. There's a return on investment issue between doing brand ambassadors and doing anything else we could do.
Correct. And it's the value you can get globally, and they are global figures. Yes. So moving on to a final trend. Oh, sorry, yes?
Sorry, can you tell me the difference between your ambassador program versus Mandarin Oriental's I'm a Fan program?
Sorry, what was the...
Mandarin Oriental Hotel also uses a brand ambassador program. I'm a Fan. What's the difference between the two?
Are you referring to Brand X or...?
I'm referring to a brand ambassador program. You have Sean Connery and also Craig as your brand ambassadors. Mandarin Oriental also uses a brand ambassador program. I am a fan. So what's the difference between the two? I'm asking you a question about the branding positioning differences.
Okay, and Mandarin Oriental, sorry, just to classify, is that another hotel brand? Correct. Okay, so the reason that we see our brand ambassador program being different is that we're not looking for celebrity endorsements, we're looking for brand ambassadors, and just the relevance and the authenticity of the two figures that we've chosen to the brands and being able to incorporate them as much as possible, and with the ongoing possibility, especially with the sequence of Bond films, being able to continue that relationship between the two brands, being featured in the films, and then continuing that with the advertisements, with the celebrities being involved.
Have you got the hotel group's expansion strategy in mind? Because they are not just expanding into Europe. I mean, these figures are well known in the West, but probably not so much in China or in other parts of the world.
Okay, in which case, if we do need to look at a brand ambassador program for the East, if it's identified that it's not having the intended effect in the East, that would definitely be something that we'd look at. It is, for the Langham, the British pedigree and opulence that we see Daniel Craig and Sean Connery really embodying. So because the Langham brand is inherently British, we don't feel that there's a mismatch between necessarily those brand ambassadors and the Langham, because the brand is so strong as it is. So it's just communicating that on a world stage. So to the final trend that will affect all of the Langham Hospitality Group's hotels, and that is creating customer loyalty through a service-oriented analytics system. It sounds quite complex, but essentially it is taking the service that the Langham is already famous for and adding another layer to it, so that from the consumer's perspective, they get a smooth and personalised customer experience. By service-oriented, what we're talking about is integrating your data and technology in a relevant way, so with your existing business processes. So to step this through from a consumer perspective, it's they land and they're on their way to the hotel. They can self-check-in on the way. They arrive at the hotel and their preferred drink is waiting for them. They didn't ask for it, the hotel already knew. The next morning they wake to find that their regular local newspaper is there waiting for them. Again, they didn't have to ask for it, the hotel knew. And this is the difference that a service-oriented analytics system can make. From touchdown to takeoff, the consumer experience makes all the common things uncommon, and it will keep them coming back.
Excuse me, before you go on, what data are you using to indicate that that's the customer's preference across all three market segments?
So what we would do with the data, essentially we're looking at starting small, so using the data that you can collect from your own loyalty member program as well as at the hotel.
No, how do you know they want this?
How
do you know the millennials want their drink when they arrive?
Because it's everything that they want, but without having to ask for it. Your competitors are already doing it. We see that the Four Seasons Hotel has taken data and they're using it to customise the experience. It is a fine line between helpful and invasive. The data is meant to be constantly updated. So if we give them the preferred drink on arrival and it's, well, I don't want this, that will go into the data so that it gets updated constantly. It always needs to be something that's helpful, but not invasive.
Now that you have the brand and analytics to ensure customer loyalty and investor confidence, it is time to grow your brand presence globally. Currently, you have 7 countries with 22 hotels in them. To give you a bit of perspective, your top competitors hold portfolios of 4,000 hotels each. Now, to reach your goal of 100 hotels within 5 years' time, a 30% CAGR is necessary in the number of hotels. And looking at the overall distribution of your hotel and brands, market forces dictate that there'll be a high demand for the Eaton and Brand X hotels. So we advise a more equally distributed portfolio due to the capital-intensive nature of the Langham and the Langham Place. So to really maximise from the benefit of the growth of the Brand X and Eaton hotels. Now, being selective with your expansion is crucial in order to target the market effectively and the cities that you are going into. So looking at the Langham and the Langham Place, we envision Langham hotels in all the major cities and capitals around the world. Here are just some of the top 25 most visited cities by business travellers. Phuket, Paris and Singapore, just to name a few of cities that you aren't currently in. Now, as Kat said, the Eaton hotels are targeted at the young millennial groups. So why not go into hotel cities that are accustomed to these eco-friendly hotels? Switzerland, Bali, and the young professional hub of San Francisco. Brand X, go into the first-tier cities. This is where the major business hubs are. Thus, more domestic business travel. Once the success is realised in the first-tier cities, go into the second tier, and when your goal of 100 hotels is reached, within 5 years' time, the third and fourth. Now, to look at the big picture again, 7 countries, 22 hotels. If the Langham Hospitality Group truly wants to be a global brand with a global presence, it needs to be in 23 countries worldwide. Now, we're not here to tell you why you can't achieve this. We're here to tell you how you can. Now, the challenge in doing so is maintaining your focus throughout this journey.
Central to the Langham Hospitality Group's brand's suite of hotels' success is their people. The people that are on the ground delivering that customer service the way the guests expect. And the rewards that are offered to them must reflect such. We suggest culturally relevant rewards that are geographically specific, both financial and non-financial. On the financial side of things, group-based performance incentives, which will see hotels that are working as teams deliver that success and be rewarded appropriately. And loyalty-driven business bonuses. Those customers that are returning associate the employees that were related to them returning and reward them appropriately. On the non-financial aspect, continue to develop and grow your internal staff, investing in their development. And when they reach accomplishment goals, recognise that from both a peer level and a mentor level. This is quite simply about retaining the best staff, inspiring them to perform at their best, and energising them to help move the Langham Hospitality suite of brands forward. I've broken it. Oh, that's great. The structure of LHG must support the explosive growth that is about to undergo. Its global effectiveness must be maintained from a function-based approach as you currently do, leveraging your core competencies. From a global level, driving consistency with your communications and strategy. On a regional level, managing the PR and the brand perception, as well as the revenue management and accounting. And on a local level, a general manager that is assisted by a team of hotel operational specialists. This will drive global effectiveness whilst maintaining local efficiency and that customer service element that the Langham brand of hotels is so famous for. What we've created today and what the Langham Hotel brand has created over the last 150 years is shared value for all the stakeholders. A benefit that must be communicated to those stakeholders, both internal and external. The simple strategy of brand, grow and focus is easy to communicate, as well as some simple goals that will garnish success, such as a 90% sign-up rate of return customers to the loyalty program, 100 hotels by that 2020 year, and 90% internal staff satisfaction, which is augmented by the 1% monthly attrition rate. But how are we going to deliver this to the staff, the guests, the shareholders, and the world? Well, you have a passionate, inspiring leader that we saw at the opening dinner. Robert Warman is a man that can deliver this message to those stakeholders, and the selection to bring him to the lead of your company has been wise. Maintaining focus ensures that the Langham Group is prepared for the explosive growth that is about to meet it.
We have described for you 3 strategic elements, that is brand, focus and grow, which collectively can be used to ensure the very...
Sorry, just going to interrupt quickly. Hey, there's the point here around focus I like. You also mentioned going from 7 countries today to 23 over the next 5 years. You think that's a bit aggressive in terms of setting up new entities, etc., in so many different countries?
So I most certainly do, and my next slide will address just that point, if I may. But as I was saying, these 3 strategic elements, the brand, grow and focus, can be employed to ensure this very ambitious expansion is met. But crucially, these elements are both practical and implementable. And moreover, they can be rolled out effectively immediately. And I think this perhaps will answer your question. The sheer staggering scale of the expansion is such that all capital must be deployed in the most efficient manner possible. Now, to this end, the group has available to it several business models, but one of these models, namely operating agreements, has several distinct advantages over the others. Now, in the first instance, it has low capital intensity, but more than that, when compared to the franchising arrangement, staff are employed directly by Langham and not by a third party. That gives you more control over them and thus more control over the brand, which, as we've heard, is an imperative. There is another key advantage to operating agreements, and that is that it reduces the financial risk. So you can see that your income is in large part based on the revenue per available room, RevPAR, which is itself highly sensitive to changes in the macroeconomic environment. Some research that we undertook revealed to us that in fact operating agreements are less sensitive to changes in RevPAR than would be owned and operated arrangements. As well, Hilton Hotels and IHG hold less than 4% and 1% respectively between them of their portfolios within wholly owned arrangements. So we consider this to be proof of concept, and given the various advantages to it, particularly the low capital intensity, we make the distinct recommendation that all expansions henceforth be made via operating agreements, except for in cases where it is not practical to do so. So a financial analysis that we undertook was on what the change in total income might be as the strategy is successfully rolled out across 5 years. And what this revealed to us was that you could more than double your total income by the 5th year when you have your 100 hotel footprint. However, to double your income within 5 years truly is an astonishing achievement. And so I just press the point home once more that it cannot be realised without deploying capital in the most efficient way.
So let's just take a step back and have a look at what we have covered today. Vision by 2020 is about brand, so capturing those new markets and driving customer loyalty. Grow, expanding the Langham group of hotels across the globe. And focus, about energising your employees and communicating it to the other stakeholders in order so they can share the success that the Langham Hospitality Group will be realising. We are Real Consulting Group, and we are dedicated to creating value for the Langham Hospitality Group's suite of hotels tomorrow and into the future. We'll now continue the questions.
Hi, yeah, can we just come back to John's question there, because I'm not sure you kind of addressed his point. We're going to expand on your plan from 7 countries to 23 countries. It doesn't matter if we're building hotels or buying hotels or just doing operating agreements. That's still 16 new territories that we've got to go into, 16 new legal systems that we've got to get sign off on, 16 new project offices that we've got to set up. I'm not sure that's doable in this timeline.
Well, we do applaud you for setting such ambitious targets, and it is our view that it can be done. But all of those additional expenses that you mentioned with regard to hiring extra staff and expertise, these require capital just as well as building hotels would. And one of the advantages under the operating agreement is that it runs this leaner capital line, and there is therefore more money available to pursue those other imperatives with respect to marketing or the hiring of the legal experts that you mentioned.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not really a financial issue, it's a project management issue.
So in terms of, we did say that in the implementation plan we want to start tomorrow. We did have a think about what that would actually involve. We think that it comes back to your people power at the Langham. So tomorrow your first step would be to hire experts in their field, and they would need to be relevant to the brand. So if you're going to change your focus not only from the Langham but to 2 new brands and then extend those brands, obviously you need people power behind that, driving that growth. So we would recommend that starting tomorrow, you start searching both internally and externally, sourcing staff that are experts in their field, and from there, moving forward, making touch points, building relationships with the investors that will then be able to build those hotels, and from there, moving forward in the way that the Langham does with the expertise that you have in managing hotels, etc.
I'm actually having the same questions like them. You're talking about 100 hotels spreading in 23 countries. Why is it a strategy not having more hotels in one region or one country? Is it because you feel that those 3 brands do not have that competitive advantage?
It does come back to what the market will dictate, and we see that demand is going to come from all over the world. So the reason that we've spread across 23 countries is because there is only so much of a luxury market to tap into in one country, and there is only so much of an eco market to tap into in one country. And by not going globally, you put yourself on the back foot to your competitors. So if you start this strategy, for example, with the Eaton Hotels in 3 or 4 countries, you give your competitors the opportunity to get ahead of you in the other 7 countries and copy your strategy before you get there. So that was why we decided to go broadly, quickly.
In your strategy, basically brand X is in China. So that means Langham and Langham Place is only in the key city. So the majority of the expansion will be Eaton. Is that what you're trying to say?
The Brand X hotels in China are more capital intensive as you're entering and establishing a new brand. You don't have the brands in other cities. You can't roll out the same marketing. You can't use the same staff structure. Therefore, we suggested less hotels being set up in China and looking to, it's the same ambitious target as 100 hotels in 5 years. We think increasing the number of countries by 16 is just as ambitious. And as Kat said, launching these brands and taking advantage of the different trends within these countries and not letting your competitors move in on you in your current countries.
You mentioned competitors as though we're in defense mode. Aren't we in attack mode?
Well, you're defending what you have currently in the countries you're in Hong Kong, in London, in North America. So moving in these new countries, yes, you're in attack mode because you're looking at taking up what's already existing by other competitors, but within your current cities, you're looking to defend, yes.
And we most certainly are trying to get on the front foot. The question about Eaton previously, Eaton is in response to a trend which the data has shown us is moving forward. And so what we're trying to do is very much to get a first mover advantage with these millennials or, in the case of Brand X, with the Chinese domestic traveller market.
I'm curious why you thought South America was such a strong market to grow in, considering very few competitors are deployed there.
I believe South America was a part of our Eaton Hotel plan. The reason that we did identify South America is that we looked at where eco was a trend, and we found that South America came up constantly. It's got a huge growing eco trend. There are small competitors there, but a lot of them can only cater for a few guests at a time. So they're areas that we see, exactly as you said, the competitors aren't there yet, but the trend is there and it's not being catered for. And that's why we think for the Eaton Hotel and what we envision it to be, they're an ideal market.
This all looks very good. How much does it cost?
Well, the financial analysis really focused on the revenue, and the story to be told there was just that we could more than double it. But what we do need to realise is that under an operating agreement, your income is coming as a percentage of revenue and not as a percentage of profit. Of course, it is the group's prerogative to manage costs and to leverage that strong corporate infrastructure that you have and the management expertise. But the goal is essentially to convince the trust managers and the property managers that the brand is strong enough and that people are willing to pay more for it and that they can engage in a partnership with Langham which will be mutually beneficial.
But come on, what's the ballpark? You said we've got to go out and hire all these people and negotiate all these contracts, even if we're all doing it totally operator agreed. There's branding stuff in here. What's the headline?
Well, it's a very good question. However, under an operating agreement, somebody else's capital has really done the hard yards, if you like. These buildings already exist or they're on the way through, and we seek to manage them then. The real point for us was that under such a model, we do run a thin capital line, and your core competencies and expertise is in the management, it's in the sales and the marketing and the hiring. It's, if you like, in putting boots on the ground to realise when leases are coming up for renewal or when developments are on the horizon, to touch base with these people and to gain business in that way. On a case-by-case basis, you also have expertise in evaluating the hotels as they come up and realising which are the most appropriate and in which markets you are in a best position to expand and to leverage that expertise. So we didn't do an explicit cost analysis on any one particular hotel. We understand that's a core competency of the business. What is important moving forward is a strategy that has a low capital intensity such that you can spread your footprint and realise that really ambitious growth target.
Yes, I think ambitious growth and low capital intensity don't necessarily go hand in hand, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Thank you. We greatly appreciate your time, and particularly we greatly appreciate having been held up here briefly in the Langham. It's a spectacular hotel, and we've certainly seen nothing like it.
Thank you, team, for the presentation. Thank you.